we've heard now from the Iranian foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi, responding to the U.S. strikes on Iran's nuclear sites, 3 nuclear sites. Abbas Araghchi has posted a statement on X saying the events this morning are outrageous and will have everlasting consequences. The Iranian top diplomat also saying that Iran reserves all options to defend its sovereignty, interests, and people based on the UN Charter. So the first official Iranian response to the U.S. attacks on its nuclear sites this morning. Let's now speak to Trita Parsi, Executive Vice President of the Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft, is joining us from Virginia in the U.S. Thank you so much, Trita, for being with us. Your thoughts first on what we heard from President Trump justifying this attack on Iran, saying the threat from Iran was existential and imminent. Do you agree with that?
Neither was it existential nor imminent. There is absolutely no evidence for this. I think we have to keep in mind the reality of the situation, which is that 2 nuclear-equipped countries attacked a non-nuclear weapon state without having gotten attacked first. Israel was not attacked by Iran. It started that war. The United States was not attacked by Iran. It started this confrontation at this point. And this will send shockwaves throughout the world because it will be very difficult for any country that feels that there is a risk for them to end up in the crosshairs of the United States of Israel to feel that they are safe without having a nuclear deterrent. So I fear that we will see proliferation. But I also think that this has more or less guaranteed that Iran will be a nuclear weapon state in 5 to 10 years from now.
Before we talk about the fallout long term, I wanted to ask you about what we heard from our correspondent in Tehran, who said that the Iranian nuclear agency had said there was no sign of contamination, no danger for the people living in the vicinity. It would seem that there were preparations made in advance of this attack by the United States, that the Iranians would have cleared these sites. Would they have gotten advance warning, do you think, of these particular nuclear sites?
It appears that they already had gotten advance warnings, but I think also even short of that, when Trump said that he's going to make a decision within 2 weeks, I don't think the Iranians took that seriously. They understood that he was trying to buy time while moving military assets in order to actually strike. So I think for some time they have moved those assets. Where they are is unclear at this point. And I think the most valuable thing the Iranians have is the stockpile of enriched uranium. As long as they continue to have that, they still actually have very much a nuclear program that still could be weaponized. And I think we are going to start hear that from the Israelis in rather short order, that this was not the type of a successful strike that Trump has claimed, but they're going to start making the case that there needs to be a more ongoing bombing campaign against Iran. And already now they're intensifying their assassination of Iranian nuclear scientists.
But when we heard from the U.S. president in his speech today, it almost sounded like he was saying mission accomplished, that this was perhaps a one-off event. Do you think that will be the case, or is this going to be something a bit longer and more intense?
I think there is a scenario in which the Iranians retaliate by striking some bases that also have been emptied. And as a result, both damage and casualties are minimized. And then the 2 countries more or less will call it even at that point and try to establish a new equilibrium. However, I do not think that that will satisfy the Israelis. I think the Israelis will use the opportunity to make sure that this ends up becoming a much more ongoing confrontation between the United States and Iran. And they will point to the fact that the nuclear program probably has not really been set back that far.
What about Iran's allies in the region, Trita? Hezbollah in Lebanon has been weakened, of course, but what about Yemen's Houthis? They've targeted Israel a number of times in recent months during the war on Gaza in these last 20 months. Are they likely to get involved in the conflict if the situation was to escalate further?
It remains to be seen. In the case of Hezbollah, it's already been significantly weakened. It's not really clear exactly what it would add And I think it will also potentially put Hezbollah at risk inside of Lebanese society already that wants to stay out of these things, understandably. In the case of the Houthis, they're close to Iran, but they're not an Iranian proxy by any stretch of the imagination and will make their own independent decisions. They have managed to get to a modus vivendi with the United States. They're not targeting the U.S. The U.S. is not targeting them. They never stopped attacking Israel. So I can definitely see a scenario in which that continues. The question is, will they start escalating by also starting to target American bases, personnel, embassies, ships, etc.?
How will the Iranians be feeling today when they wake up to this news, Trita, that the Americans have entered the war with Israel? We did see a rallying around the flag in the last week when the Israeli attacks on Iran began. Will that continue? What do you think is the sentiment on the ground today?
I think there is a sentiment of shock, first of all, because the population has clearly, not the regime either, the government did not expect that the Israelis would attack Iran 2 days before scheduled negotiations. I think the shock will be intensified now, since many still believe that Trump ultimately was interested in a deal. And instead, they saw that he used this as an opportunity to attack. The question I think they also will be faced with, and I think it will be a fear that they have, that this will escalate further. There's going to be a sentiment that says that Iran has to strike back, because if it doesn't, the U.S. probably will strike Iran even further if it shows itself to be weak and indefensible. At the same time, there's a tremendous concern, of course. They do not want to end up in a direct confrontation with the United States. They do not want to be in a state of war. They want to rejoin the international community, get sanctions lifted, etc. But I think this will be leading to a hardening of attitudes, both in the government and in society as a whole.
Thank you so much, Trita, for talking to us about this. Very good to get your views and insight. Trita Parsi joining us there from Virginia.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.